Welcome to the MediaCasters with your business besties, Karina Belizzi and Julie Loken. In every episode, you'll get behind-the-scenes access to experts who share their struggles and successes in podcasting, publishing, and presenting. So grab a pen, grab your bestie, and kick it with Karina and Jules.
Don't
I love
you just
her intro.
love? I do.
Oh,
I think
were
the
you gonna
same
say
thing.
that
I was
too?
just thinking the same thing.
I'm like, dang it.
We need to get Kevco in on these things. Have him
my
be
God.
live with us when we're actually doing recordings.
Wouldn't that be
But
fun?
I do. I get so pumped.
That's the best. And quite honestly, just the whole part of having that amazing intro, and it was a labor of love between the business besties. It is an amazing marketing arm to have that recognizable music and the theme, and someone like Kevin actually doing the intro. People remember it. And you know who I'd love to remember? Guess who? Karina.
I'm guessing you're going to say Kevco?
I'm going to say Tai Goodwin, girl.
Oh, yes.
So
So we have a treat today
Yeah.
as we are going to talk to that marketing team founder, Tai Goodwin. She is the CEO and the creator of Liberated CEO Accelerator and also Quiz to Grow. So we're calling her the Quiz Queen because we're going to get to find out a little bit more about how you can use quizzes to up your game in marketing.
That's amazing. And I've tried it and I've kind of failed when I've done quizzes on my websites, but I cannot wait to see Tai in person and just squeeze her and say, you're amazing. And
Yeah,
we
let's
might
bring
talk
her right
about
up.
the F word too.
Oh, the funnel word. Your favorite word.
F word.
The favorite not four-letter F word that Julie hates. So, Ty, welcome to the show.
But I use it all the time, unfortunately.
she
Hey,
does.
business besties. I'm so excited for this conversation.
We're excited to have you here, Tai. Like, okay, so you're like the marketing queen, a marketing guru. You understand the power of quizzes, which I think is amazing because it creates engagement. You know, you get people pulled in with the quizzes and they can learn something. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, I started using quizzes when I left my last day job, which was about 5 years ago. And I had a really old email list because when I was working, I couldn't actually have a business. So I had an email list of about 2,500 people that I hadn't talked to in 2.5 years. I sent them a link to a quiz, and within 10 days, I had 500 people back on my email list. And I built my
Wow.
coaching business based on that.
Wow.
So fast forward a few months, and I'm like, well, hey, that kind of worked out. I just need to get it in front of more people. And I started dabbling in Facebook ads. I had no idea what the heck I was doing, but I used one Facebook ad and one quiz to add 9,000 subscribers to my email list in 4 months.
That's
And
really
I
unheard
was
of.
hooked. Mhm.
So talk to me about that first quiz. What was
Yeah.
on that quiz that re-engaged 500 people from your list?
Well, the quiz was called What Type of Entrepreneur Are You? And I created it because I was working with a lot of people who were coaches, but they were coaches
Ugh.
because that was the like hot thing to do, but they really didn't like being coaches. And so it helped them figure out, were they a trailblazer, somebody who should be on stage? Were they the guide, somebody who should be teaching people? Were they the person that was supposed to be doing consulting? Or were they supposed to be the hands behind the scenes helping people? And once I was helping my clients figure out where they were, it allowed me to help them create a really, really strong business proposition because now they were authentically aligned with what they were supposed to be doing.
I want to see one of these quiz. I want to see them.
And the quizzes I'm familiar with on Facebook are who were you in a past life, or, you know, those kind of fun quizzes.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I took a bunch of those. Like I had never even seen a Harry Potter movie. And I was like, which Harry Potter house are you in? Slytherin, whatever. I'm like, I don't know, but I'll just take it. Right. 'Cause it was fun. That wasn't that one of the Harry Potter houses? I don't know. Something like that.
Probably. Karina would know.
But
I'm not a Harry Potter either,
Really?
so I get it.
yeah.
I
But it
don't
was
know what they
cool.
call themselves. They're not potheads. They have to be something else, right?
Potheads.
Well,
Karina.
some of them are potheads, but that's a whole other conversation, right? But the bottom line was, we take quizzes because we're all a little bit narcissistic, right? We want to know something else about ourselves, like the Cosmo quizzes that
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of us grew up taking, that same kind of thing. But the quizzes that we use in marketing, they're actually behavior based quizzes. So it's not, what color is your aura? It's not anything like that. It's helping people qualify and segment themselves based on how they answer questions. One quick example, we did a quiz for an OBGYN,
Oh,
and
this is gonna be fun.
the quiz was called Where Did My O Go? Right? And you know which
Oh,
O I'm talking about.
yes,
But she was helping women
I
who were
think.
going through
Oprah?
menopause and perimenopause. That would be fun. But it was about, helping women figure out, is your libido missing because of, is it, the medication that you're taking? Is it because you're not, eating properly? Is it because you're dehydrated? Is it because you're stressed out? And once she was able to help people segment and realize, hey, my libido is down because, I'm super stressed out about all these other things. Now she can send email marketing to them, focus on being stressed out and not, hey, your medications are, changing your libido, because that's not their issue. So quizzes are great at not just helping you generate leads, but you get more than just an email address, which allows you to segment your audience and do a really good job with your marketing.
Well, I
Wow.
have to say, I learned recently what an O shot was, and I had no idea.
Wait, what? A
Apparently,
what?
an O shot?
Never heard of this.
Okay, well, if
That's,
you go to an OBGYN, they can literally,
oh my God,
I
we're
guess it's a
going there.
body morphology thing where they literally give you a shot in the area, and it
Mhm.
makes you more able to achieve climax.
Okay. Did you know that, Ty?
I did not, but I figured they would want to keep that a secret.
I mean, I was completely unaware. It was something that came up in my feed on Facebook,
Oh,
and
sure.
I'm just
That's what
like,
they all
what is
say.
going on? What is an O shot? Am I completely ignorant? And I was one of two people in the entire comment string that didn't know. I felt like
Oh,
such a,
wow.
I don't know. You learn something new
Media
every day, as they
casters,
say.
you now know what an O shot is. So
I feel
the
enlightened.
everything we are delivering to our listeners, you the media caster right now, I want you to share with everybody the importance of having your O shot. So, okay. No, but I love that. But it seems like the quiz is actually the F word. We're going to talk about funnels. It's
Yeah.
taking a lot of information and data and transmuting
Mhm.
it into a a trajectory of a marketing plan. You know who's interested in you by their
Yeah.
answers. And that's
Yeah.
so
And you also
fascinating.
Well, you also know what they're interested in, which, I always say, if all you have is an email address, how well do you really know your audience, right? You don't know anything about them. You just know they have an email, and that's it. But if you ask them the right questions, you know a lot more that you're able to use to figure out what products should you be creating, or, what should you be saying in your marketing to help them learn more about, your product, your features, and your benefits. So there's a lot of benefits to that. And I'm glad you brought up the F word, right? We're going to
The
keep
F
it
word.
family
That's
friendly. The F word we're talking about is funnels, right?
mhm.
But we talk about that because there are a lot of people who just build a quiz and don't have anything behind it. And so when we work with clients on it, it's not just a quiz, it's the landing page, it's the copy for that page, it's the emails that nurture people behind that
Mhm.
quiz, because it's a relationship that you're building, right? You're going to date your prospects to get them to marry you, which is like buying your offer and saying yes to you. And you got to be really good at nurturing that relationship along. And that's what you do with email marketing.
So, what type of questions do you tend to ask in these particular questions? I mean, I've submitted all sorts of questions for surveys that are meant to
Mhm.
divine market intelligence, when you pay people to take them because you're asking them to spend 5 or 10 minutes,
Yeah.
going into a deep dive and using tools like Qualtrics to really get at the
Mhm.
root of how your customer base might think. But what you're talking about is a little different, I think, as far as these
Mhm.
marketing oriented quizzes. So, talk to me about the types of questions that you ask.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because there are a number of people who think that a quiz is the same thing as a survey. And surveys, in a survey, I'm telling you information I already know about myself, right? I know how many kids I've got. I know where I live. I know my age. I don't really want that information back. But when you do a quiz, you're asking people questions that help them identify something they did not know. So, for example, we did a quiz for a product-based business, and it was all about, what's the fastest way to grow out your natural hair. And so you're asking them questions about, like, so what do you use at night? what's your night treatment for your hair, right? Or, how much water do you drink every day? And by the time they answer all those questions, they're able to figure out,
Oh,
oh,
I can hear
wow,
her typing. Julie, I
Oh,
can
yeah.
hear
I
you
was
typing.
responding to like I'm seeing this is the hard part when we're
I'm
streaming.
like,
I'm
she's
seeing all these
taking notes.
comments and I'm taking
Listen, I
notes.
love it. I love it. But what you're able to do is when you see people that are responding a certain way, it puts them in a category and now they're qualified or disqualified, based on how they answer those questions. So what types of questions? You're always going to have demographic questions, right? You need to know some of those, right? But I'll tell you a fun thing that we do for demographics. We never ask people their age. We might say, which group did you grow up listening to? Was it Boys to Men? Was it New Kids on the Block? Right. So you're asking questions to kind of help people have a little bit of fun. But then you've got questions that help you kind of validate like what their problem is. What's your like for us when we're talking about lead generation, we might say what's your number one concern when it comes to generating leads, right? You're also
Getting
going to ask,
leads.
yeah, getting leads. I don't know who my audience is, right?
Right.
Which is different from I know who my audience is, but I don't know where to find them, which is different than I don't know what to say to them, right? And so you start to be able to break it down, because if you know who your audience is but you just don't know what to say to them, that's a whole different offer, right, that we'd have for you. But you ask questions that validate what the problem is. You ask questions that help identify them, you know and those questions could be, what's your title, right? And it's a little bit of a demographic, but if you only want to work with, for example, we have a quiz on quizzes, and I'm glad to share that link out. And one of the things that we say is, what kind of business do you have? And if somebody says, I don't know, I'm just getting started, guess what? We're not going to let them take the rest of the quiz,
Hmm.
right? Because they don't need a quiz. They need to figure out what the heck they're doing in their business. And so it's a really great way for you to be able to filter out and disqualify people, but then also qualify those people who are really ready to take the next step in your business.
So, what tools do you use to make these quizzes reality? Are you using an application? Are you creating apps? What are you doing?
I would love to create an app, but I used to work at Lead Pages, so I've seen behind the scenes of like what it's like when you are responsible for an app. So we're not doing that journey. But we have two that are at the top of our list right now. One of them is Interact. Love tryinteract.com. I'm a certified partner with them. And they just make it so easy to use. The other tool that we really like to play around with is called Outgrow. And the cool thing about Outgrow is beyond just having quizzes, it also has calculators. So if you wanted to help people figure out, how much should you be spending on ads, or how much can you really afford for your mortgage, you can create those kind of calculators in that tool. And again, it's another way to give people some value, because they didn't know how much they should be spending on ads before they took your quiz. But then it's also a way for you to get the data on the back end after you've delivered that value.
And I think I know we'll put these links in the show notes. And Tai, if you want to share links, if you have affiliate links, we'd love to put those in as well. And it's so fascinating because I really have no basis of knowledge on quizzes, but I'm thinking, so you make these quizzes and then do you embed them into your website, or how do you use them? Do you use them on Facebook?
All over the place. Absolutely. So on your website, and once you've got that link, you're going to share it everywhere. And actually, I've worked with a partner, and we actually have a whole quiz set up in ManyChat. And it's so
What do you
cool.
mean mini chat?
So, ManyChat is that little bot, the automated things that you can do in Facebook Messenger.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
so I actually found a partner, and we created a whole quiz framework where you can ask questions and they'll score things for you simply by responding A, B, C, D, or E in ManyChat. It is
Wow.
so cool.
That sounds
Really
like a
cool.
lot of fun. So, what is the most fun you have in marketing?
Oh gosh. Um, the most fun I have in marketing is helping people with their messaging.
Hmm.
And I had a client the other day, and she was like, I think I'm kind of a relationship coach, but I'm not really sure. And by the time we were done with her session, we helped her figure out that she is the intuitive matchmaker, and she helps high achieving women get the money and the man. And she was
Wow,
like,
that's a
yes, I
real
love
bold
it.
offer.
Right? Right.
Well, that
So
is a message. That is an elevator pitch that people will remember. So, that's good.
exactly. And so that's the kind of
Who's
fun I get to
listening
have with
now?
my
Who needs
clients.
money and a man? Raise your
Right?
hand.
Yeah, you don't have to choose, you can have both.
Wow.
Well, I love
That's
it. I
fascinating.
mean, we're only 14 minutes in, and I'm thinking, heck, I got a
I
bit
know. I'm
here.
ready to start like working on a quiz, but I mean, it's genius, and not a lot of people do it. And it's one of those like little juicy tidbits everybody forgets about. The
Yeah.
power of the quiz.
So to get the
For
results,
engagement.
they have to submit their email. Is that generally how you
That's
structure them?
exactly how it works.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, hey, you want to see the results? Give us your name and email address. And one of the things that we do is we actually, for some of our clients, we create custom reports.
Hmm.
Like the quiz that I have, it's thatmarketingteam.com/quiz. If folks go there, it's a quiz on quizzes, right? So if
Writing
you're
it
like, I
down.
don't, because there are actually 5 different types of quizzes. You could have a product-based quiz or a goal-based quiz, which tells people how, like, what's the fastest way for you to, sell your house, right? Or you could have a mistake-based quiz, which is which house selling mistake are you making, right? Or then you have the personality quiz, what kind of motivated seller are you? Right? And then you would have the last one is a score-based quiz, right? Are you really ready to sell your house? And then you would give them a score. So the quiz actually helps you figure out which kind of quiz is going to be right for you. And we actually give you an entire report. So it's not just like, hey, here's your answer. It's this is why this quiz is going to be best for you and your audience. Here's what it would look like for you. And then if you want to take the next steps, here's what the next call to action is.
So
Oh,
I'm going
that's
to put
really
you on the
cool.
spot. Can I put her on the spot, Karina? A
Of
little bit?
course.
Okay, so the media casters. Okay, our
Uh-huh.
quiz, our my make believe quiz.
Yeah.
How can you grow a podcast to over, I don't know, like 10 million downloads? Like,
Yeah.
go for it. What questions would you ask on that quiz?
Well, yeah, I mean, the hook for your quiz, what's the fastest way to grow your podcast audience to 10K, right? I want to take that quiz because I want to grow it to 10K. And then it's going to be based on like what things you teach them. So you probably teach them to have an email list. You probably teach them to have really great guests. You probably teach them, to be really good with your SEO and your topics. And so you would ask questions to help them figure out like where they're weakest, right? So one of your questions might be, have you done the SEO research for your podcast? If they say yes, they don't need the SEO strategy,
Brilliant.
right?
Brilliant.
If you say, well, have you given any thought to, what how you're gonna drive traffic to your podcast? And if they say, no, I haven't, then that lets you know if you've got a course on how to drive more traffic, you're going to want to sell that to those people because they haven't thought about it yet. Right. So you see how we're able to break it down and really identify what's the next best way to continue the relationship with that person simply by how they answer the questions.
Well, Jules, I think she's hired.
You're hired, Tai. Oh my God.
You work for nothing, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, I work for podcast tips. It could be, it would be a lot of fun
Do you
to
have a
actually
podcast, Tai?
build something
And I
out.
don't know why I don't know
We're
this.
launching one. We're launching a Liberated CEO podcast.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm really
maybe we
excited
can
about
talk.
that.
Maybe we can talk and work something
Yeah,
out. Like,
we
'cause
can.
She needs to come on our network.
We're obsessed
Oh,
with podcasting.
love that.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Well, I used to have a podcast way back in the day. Do you guys remember Talk Shoe?
No, I don't.
Like I'm so old school. What was it called? The other one is oh gosh, there was another podcast network that was out there a long time ago. It was back in 2007, 2008 when I had a podcast and we got up to like 10,000 downloads a month. Blog
That's
Talk Radio.
fabulous.
That's what it was.
What was it?
But it was back Blog Talk Radio.
Okay.
So old. And it was back when like this is how early it was. We would have people like literally driving in their cars doing their podcast. Like there was a guy that drove, like he had a 2-hour commute and he would do his podcast during his commute because he was sitting in traffic. Like podcasting is all fancy now, but back in the day you could do that kind of stuff.
Sounds like Clubhouse.
Kind of like Clubhouse. Well, Clubhouse is kind of like live podcasting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is. It is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fabulous. So what do you see on the horizon? What is the next biggest thing in terms of marketing for entrepreneurs, creatives, podcasters, authors? What do you see?
Wow. I think it really depends on what level people are at in their business. I think a lot of folks who have gotten into the entrepreneurship world simply because they said, I hate my job or I'm quitting my job and I'm going to start. I think they're really beginning to understand the power of content marketing. And quizzes are just content, wrapped in a pretty format. And it's interesting because as much as people say, well, nobody likes to read, content marketing is still king, right? So, people may not like to read, but they like to watch, they like to listen. And so it's really being able to repurpose your content for those different audiences and segment it so that you can personalize it. Personalization is going to be huge because there's so much noise out there.
Mhm.
And how do you cut through the noise is you personalize it by segmenting your audience so that you're not sending the same thing to everybody. You got to talk to that one person and you got to speak their language.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yep. Smart moves. Very. So, if you had a couple of tips that you wanted to provide before we exit, before we wrap, just to make it super clear, perhaps it's
Yeah.
summarizing what we've talked about so far, or just giving us even two new things, what would they be?
Mhm. The first thing is, and I'll say this for a lot of your audience that are ladies, like, listen, ladies, we've got to stop playing small when it comes to marketing and talking about what we do. I'm in a lot of spaces where there's a lot of bro marketing, and I love my bro marketers, but they're really good at like talking about the wins that they've gotten for themselves and they've gotten for other people. We aren't always so good at that, right? We kind of downplay it. And so we really got to
Mhm.
get better at sharing our wins and successes, not as if we're bragging, but because we really believe in the power of what we do. And so that's more of a mindset shift. The next thing I want to say is you got to know your marketing numbers. Oh my gosh, that's one of my big pet peeves when I say, well, how many leads do you need each month? I don't know. How many sales do you need to hit your goals this month?
You need
I don't
one
know.
good lead, right? One good lead.
Oh my gosh. If you have 100% close rate, go for it. Right. But, I hear, people don't understand, they don't know those numbers. And so they're thinking that they're doing a bad job in business when they really just haven't gotten in front of enough people because they don't understand how the marketing numbers work. So you got to find somebody and work with somebody who'll help you understand what your numbers are and make it really easy for you to hit those goals. And then the last thing is that, marketing can be fun. It's one of the things I love about quizzes. It's interactive, it's fun. You can have some levity to it. I did a quiz for a feminine product company, right? And the quiz was
Poise. Was it poise?
no,
It
no,
wasn't
it
a
was
no
a
shot.
feminine hygiene. No, it was a feminine hygiene product. And the quiz was, what type of fruit
Summer's
is your
Eve.
cookie? I wish it was that, but what type of fruit is your cookie?
Oh my God, that's
Right?
hilarious.
Are you a strawberry, like a traditional, or are you like a passion fruit and you're just out there? So, you gotta
Whoa.
have fun. You gotta have fun
Yeah.
with things.
Well, and those are the
And
type of quizzes that people like to take because they're entertaining and they're
Mhm.
they're fun, they're easy. You're reading a few words each page. It's accompanied typically with an image or something, and
Yeah,
it's really half entertainment.
it
and
is.
the
Well,
beauty
it's
is
edutainment, right?
and the
Mhm.
beauty is when you don't realize you're being marketed towards, you know? And
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
that is the genius of utilizing the quiz because you
Yeah.
don't. You have no idea. You're just having fun and
Mhm.
you're learning a little bit about yourself.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Jules, we're at that time. Do we ask her to say the words?
Ty,
Mhm.
we're not going to ask you to say, oh, excuse me. Excuse me, I had to clear my throat because I was thinking about the O shot. We're not going to ask you to say the two words O shot. We're going to ask you to say two words we ask everybody to say, and
Okay.
it's kick it.
Kick it.
Yes.
So
Peace
much
out,
fun, ladies.
everybody.
Thanks for listening to another episode of The Media Casters. You can keep this conversation going and kick it with Karina and Jules in live office hours each week. Visit themediacasters.mn.co to sign up. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe whenever you listen. Let's kick it.